If any family holds an honor or distinction in the records of Massachusetts Bay, it is the Mather family. Richard, Increase, and Cotton Mather, grandfather, father, and son, had the commonality of their calling to lead congregational flocks in Massachusetts. Of the three men, Cotton is best remembered for not only being one of the most influential Puritans of his day, being a prolific writer, and also for his connection to that Salem episode for which the colony became so famous. Despite the acclaim for these accomplishments of Cotton Mather, it is an entirely different occurrence to which historian Kenneth P. Menkema writes in his article Reforming Harvard, Cotton Mather on Education at Cambridge. As an alumni of Harvard College, Cotton Mather was one of many Massachusetts citizens invested in the success of the school. Cotton Mather was a man who was nothing if not faithful to the founding principles and traditions of Harvard College. After the turn of the 18th century and after the college presidency of Increase Mather, Cotton came to believe that he would be the next reasonable choice for college president. When he was overlooked several times in the forthcoming decades, Mather's willingness to serve turned into rebuffed denial of his desire to serve in the first place. In conjunction with his personal pride, Mather not only opposed those chosen over him to be in authority, and due to their perceived ineptitude, but he also opposed the change in education and the lack of traditional biblical pastoral trainings that were also the result of the same ineptitude. Menkema reproduces the text of three different documents that were written by Mather to clearly voice his opinion on the depth of depravity Harvard had fallen to and the poor choice of leadership in the school as well. As Cotton writes his important points, questioning the corruption that was so evident to him, and his letter to the governor, his frustration with this institution became very clear. What is interesting in Cotton's important points are the questions he asks in light of his own experiences at Harvard. Looking back at the history of the school when Cotton was there and when he attended, starting at the tender age of 11, there's an abundance of evidence that the school was not on the right path then, in light of hazing and fagging that were going on there. David Lynn, in his article, The Hazing of Cotton Mather, examines this piece of Harvard history. While there's a lack of first-hand accounts of those who were the recipients of such behavior, one only needs to look at the rulings that were passed by the overseers of the college. These laws point to the fact that there were problems that needed to be addressed within the university. Overseers of the college had first passed a rule against hazing and the practice of fagging, which involves upperclassmen sending the younger students to go run errands for them. The extent these practices hurt the younger students is not specified, but it is mentioned that parents of underclassmen were greatly discouraged and told the overseers this. There were two instances before 1670 in which the overseers had to set aside money to compensate freshmen who had suffered some unknown injury in relation to this hazing. Later, the overseers of the college created additional punishment for the practice of fagging, which the punishment was then that both the sender and the goer were to be punished. Later, the overseers of the college created additional punishment for the practice of fagging, which the punishment was then that both the sender and the goer were to be punished. Cotton Mather was he was the son of an overseer, but there's no evidence to suggest that he was immune to the hazing that went on at Harvard. In fact, Increase Mather made the decision while Cotton was young to withdraw him from Harvard for a brief while. The fact remains that while Cotton was in school, Harvard had reached a low point that some considered even lower than when the school was founded. The evidence of all that went on at Harvard while Cotton was enrolled sheds a new light on his important points. If there was a practice of hazing and fagging going on at Harvard, then this gives Cotton Mather another motive for writing his list. In addition to the sting of rejection and being looked over for the presidency, and his belief in the ineptitude of the leaders that were chosen, both of which are brought up in Menkema's article, Cotton Mather's list also reflects his own experiences there. Mather may have wanted to be in the position maybe for his own vainglory, and maybe because he resented the candidates who were chosen, but his past exposes another desire to make Harvard a better place for future students, including his own son, a better place than the one he had experienced. Menkema shares the documents that Mather wrote about Harvard and gives readers a glimpse into the character of Cotton Mather.